Today, we're diving into one single moment where everything, and I mean everything, changed. It's an incredible story about a 49-foot prayer, a basketball that seemed to defy the laws of physics, and how one single bounce completely rewrote history for the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Seriously, have you ever had that feeling where time just freezes? The final buzzer has already sounded. The game is over. But somehow, everything, the entire season, all the hopes and dreams, is still hanging in the balance. Well, this is that moment.
So the scene is Oklahoma City. The entire arena is electric, right? But for one agonizing, stretched out second, 20,000 people are dead silent. They're holding their breath because all that matters is this one basketball just sitting on the rim, deciding everything. The clock's at 0. There are no do-overs, no more chances. This ball, launched from way back at half court, somehow found its way to the hoop. It drops into the cylinder. And in that instant, for every single Nebraska fan, there's just this terrifying, gut-wrenching feeling that the dream is dead.
A moment like that, it doesn't just happen out of nowhere, you know? It's the absolute climax of a wild, chaotic battle. So how in the world did we get to this point? Let's rewind the tape a little bit. All right, so the game is tied, the clock is just bleeding away, and Nebraska has the ball. This wasn't just about winning one game. This was about making actual history. We're talking about reaching the program's first ever Sweet 16. The pressure, absolutely immense.
And this was supposed to be the storybook ending, right? Price Sanford kicks it over to Braden Frager. The hometown kid drives hard, he attacks the rim, throws up a lefty layup, and it's good. The place just goes nuts. That's gotta be the game. Nebraska is going to the Sweet 16. 2.2 seconds. That's it. That's all that's left on the clock, which, in real life is nothing. But in basketball, it's an eternity. It's just enough time for one last desperate heave from Vanderbilt.
Okay, and that brings us right back to that final insane shot. Vanderbilt calls a timeout. They've got one last chance to pull off an absolute miracle.
So the inbound pass comes to Tyler Tanner. He takes one dribble and just lets it fly from 49 feet out. And you're watching this thing travel through the air and your heart just sinks because the arc on that thing looks perfect. It looks way, way too good to miss.
And then it happens. The ball drops clean through the hoop. You could just feel the air get sucked out of the entire building. For that split second, it's a dagger, a soul-crushing, season-ending, history-denying dagger. But then, wait, no way, the unthinkable happens. The ball hits the rim, it bounces up, and it ricochets out. The building absolutely erupts. It's pure chaos. The dream is alive. Nebraska has somehow survived.
I mean, can you even imagine the emotional whiplash of that moment? In the split second that ball was in the cylinder, Nebraska lost. It was a legendary, heartbreaking upset. Silence. Then, one miracle bounce later, the entire script is flipped. Now it's a historic victory. It's absolute pandemonium. So what does it even feel like to live through something like that? Well, let's hear it from the players and coaches who were right in the middle of that emotional roller coaster.
That's Braden Frager. The guy who scored what everyone thought was the game-winning basket just seconds before. Even he was just frozen. He thought it was over. You can almost still hear the pure shock in his voice just trying to process it.
And his teammate, Price Sanford, he puts it a little more bluntly. I just about died. That's it. That's the feeling. That total helplessness of watching your season hang in the air, followed by this just overwhelming, massive wave of relief.
Sam Hoiberg just nails it, doesn't he? He perfectly captures that gut-wrenching sequence. First, that sinking feeling of complete and total defeat, and then, not even a second later, just a raw scream of pure joy. That's the entire arena's emotional journey right there, all in one sentence.
And finally, we've got Coach Fred Hoiberg. Even he thought it was going in. He said it hit every single part of the rim before it somehow miraculously came out. It's just a stunning admission of how close they were to absolute disaster and how much pure luck was on their side. And of course, once that ball bounced out, that feeling of survival just exploded into a party, a wild, chaotic, and truly historic celebration. What came next was just a pure, unfiltered release of all that tension. The bench empties, right? Fans are literally throwing popcorn in the air like it's confetti. The team takes a full victory lap around the court, high-fiving everyone. The cheerleaders actually start a conga line. This wasn't just a win. This was catharsis.
And get this is from the opposing coach. Even after a tough loss, Vanderbilt's coach Mark Byington had to give it up for the atmosphere. He called it one of the toughest places he's ever coached in. That's a huge testament to the thousands of Nebraska fans who basically turned Oklahoma City into their home court.
Now, to really understand why this celebration was so massive, you have to get the history. This is a program that, until just 2 days before this game, had never won an NCAA tournament game. So this one single improbable victory, it wasn't just a win. It was their first ever ticket to the Sweet 16. It was history, plain and simple.
So after a moment that was etched in luck, disbelief, and just pure elation, a massive barrier has been broken for Nebraska basketball. They survived the impossible shot. And now as all the confetti, or, popcorn, finally settles, the biggest question is, what comes next?